All right, we are live, and this is a special event. David Strauss is here.
Hey guys.
David normally holds down the fort in Charleston, but in a weird turn of events, you are here in Puerto Rico. Patrick is still in Charleston.
Yeah, I had to leave the deconstruction of his house.
And our studio.
Yeah.
And we have a little bit of bad news with that because basically he has an old daycare as a separate structure behind his house that we made into our studio. And so he's going through the demolition process, and we're going to build it out much nicer. And he had the demo guy all set to come, and then he hired a structural engineer after hiring an architect.
Yep.
And the architect said there's no load-bearing walls in the entire building.
Yep.
The ceiling was built first, the roof, and then walls were built. And now this new guy says that may not be true.
Yeah, and Patrick has spent hours, days maybe, of time constructing the perfect floor plan and the studio layout and any other potential stuff he wants to do with it. So I don't know if all that work is just wasted or if
That's
we'll
going to
see.
be so horrible if that's the case.
I hope not.
Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. Rick, before we even went live, he gave us a $5 super chat and says, I'm excited to see F-Stopper show again. And Zach J says, hell yeah, haven't seen a live show in months. Thank you guys for the super chats. Normally, if I was a little bit more on top of things, I would have already made the next critique so that you could upload the images. I forgot to do it. So the first thing I do when I get off this live cast is I'm going to make it. And for the next critique, we want to see images that take advantage of blur. And
So
we're going to allow
motion blur or bokeh or
depth of field. Yeah, but we want it to, I mean, you know, you could just say like, there's shallow depth of field in this portrait, but
Should be
we want a little
purposeful.
bit more than that. Do you have some suggestion for people?
I mean, I think blur should play a significant part in making the image interesting.
Yes. So if you've got images that take advantage of blur more than just shooting with, you know, a standard shallow depth of field, we want to see that in the next critique. And like I said, give me like 20 minutes after we're done going live. I'll have that up. And you can always go to fstoppers.com/contest. You can see all of the submissions for this critique, and you can see whatever we're currently doing. You can also go to fstoppers.com/store, and you can see all of the tutorials that you could potentially win. The highest rated image and the one random winner will get a free tutorial from fstoppers.com/store. Are you ready to get to this, David?
Yes, I believe I am.
Okay, pull it up. It doesn't look like it's up on your screen, so you got to do a screencast.
All right. New guys.
There are so many little details to this live setup that we have here that it every time I'm like, I'm ready to go live, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to get this ready, and then I have to do the intro screen, and then I have to do the cast over here, and then I have to do that, and so there's just a lot that can go wrong.
Yep.
Are you ready? So this first image is the highest rated image, and let me say, this critique let me down a bit because I would say most incredible images have some element of luck to them, right?
Sure.
You had a game plan, you had to shoot with a famous celebrity, you had to do something, but the concept that you had in mind wasn't working out, and the celebrity made some joke, and then you captured this look, and it's the cover of the magazine, and everyone loved it, but it was total luck. It wasn't my plan at all. That's what I was hoping to get.
Yeah.
Instead, we got lots of incredibly mediocre images, just people like taking pictures of animals, not even doing that interesting of things. We got images that are lucky, but they're not good images, like they are not useful images. I have chosen 10 of the best.
Okay.
This image, in my opinion, is funny. It's hilarious. I don't know how good of a photograph this is in terms of like your portfolio, or could you sell it? What could you do with this? What do you think?
So this is, again, this is analyzing it from a kind of commercial standpoint, right?
I don't want to. I don't want to put stipulations
All right.
on it,
Sure.
but
Amazing shot. I think it's like. But are we still doing the rating?
Yeah, we
thing
are. Do you
like
wanna do
normal?
that?
All right. I mean, we can. Sure.
just make sure when you throw it, see, we have to be below the screen. See?
Oh. Okay.
So
I
you
see.
can't throw it behind. You got to throw it down here.
I can right hand it right here.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
I know you're gonna do. Oh, you did 3. Okay.
I don't.
did
I
3.
mean, it's definitely so unique
Yeah.
that and the kid in the background.
It's just the dumb.
Zoom into that kid in the background.
rounded
Like
face.
it's crazy.
Sorry,
he's,
struggling.
he's got a good
There we go.
expression back there. But I just
That's
wonder.
So, I mean, yeah, it's just like, I feel like the moment is incredible, and if this were like super well lit, maybe like shallower depth of field a little bit, this would be all over stock websites for
Yeah.
like, the disaster posters or the work
Things not-
demotivation. Yeah.
Things not going the way you planned. Yeah,
Like this could be on a billboard, but it would need to be better lit. And
Okay, so let's talk about the billboard thing. I'm looking at this right now on like a screen within a screen. It's incredibly small for me right now. It's kind of hard for me to tell what's going like that. When you zoom in like that, it's very easy for me to tell what's going on. And I chose this image as the featured image for this critique,
Yeah.
and I cropped into it just like that.
yeah,
I feel like it's so much more powerful like that.
cropped.
Yes,
I agree.
but I don't know that there's that much resolution to play with. I mean, the images that we get are very low res anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like just an improvement, like, again, beyond cropping, it seems like you've done this HDR-ish post-processing to it a little bit. Like, I feel like I kind of want more contrast, more brights. Maybe that would improve it a little bit. Obviously, the lighting in general isn't ideal for this shot, but I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah,
yeah.
I go back and forth. I go back and forth between saying this is an incredible commercial image that has a lot of uses. A lot of guys in the comments right now are saying that it could be the ultimate meme.
Yeah.
But is the ultimate meme a successful image that you want to put on a professional photographer's website? Probably not.
Was this taken by a parent or like a pro photographer? Each one comes with a story. Right?
Yeah, this one doesn't have much of a story. This was taken by Matt Bennett, and he says, "My son at bat, I was lucky to catch the shot. He was lucky it was far from a fastball."
Nice, Matt. Yeah, I mean, from a parent perspective, this is like gold. I feel like this will go down in all of the family.
It'll show up
albums
at
and
the
whatnot.
at the wedding
Yeah,
one day.
absolutely. Like, so in that respect, high ratings, maybe from a.
But you gave it 3
sellable-
stars, like we agreed.
I know, yeah.
All right. Well, Matt, this was the highest rated image. Community gives it
Very well
3.58. You win a free tutorial. Send me a private message on fstoppers.com and let me know which tutorial you want. I'll make sure you get that. Next up. This one's pretty interesting, and I have read. I'll switch over to full screen for everyone. I've read how this was taken. Do you care to guess how this was taken?
I would have first thought maybe over a cliff, just kind of looking down or something, but I imagine it's also possible they were in some plane or helicopter or aerial device. Those are my thoughts.
Your thoughts are wrong. Bruce
right.
Grant shot this, and I believe he said we set sail from Nassau and we're headed back to New York. I believe he's on a cruise,
Yeah.
and he saw these birds flying around the outside of the boat in the middle of the ocean, which is certainly strange. He thinks potentially they were living on the boat, maybe, and they
yeah.
were just going for a little fly around the boat. So he goes up on the deck and starts shooting down towards the water and gets this. Now, maybe you could say the element of luck here is just seeing a bird out in the middle of the ocean. But I would say this shot takes a lot of skill to even see a bird and think, there's the ability for me to take a photograph here.
Well, there's no doubt this entire critique, every single image has to have a moderate amount of skill and or planning for each image.
Like, see, I don't know. Like, having a camera at your son's baseball game,
I mean,
is that a lot of skill?
Maybe not. I mean, that particular image, you know, you're probably already zoomed in and you're locked focused and whatnot. But, I mean, how much luck is sports photography ever versus skill? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the nature of sports. This, I feel like there's some planning and thought going into shooting down, and maybe the focus is tough to catch, and especially the wings are tough to catch. Oh, I let it. But the bird positioning and like catching him in the perfect part of the frame that he is, I think that is, you could say, very lucky versus skill. I don't know. It's a combination.
He says he took 300 shots.
Okay.
And this is his favorite of 300.
I mean, this is awesome to me. Like, we haven't rated it. Do you want to rate it?
Yeah, let's rate it. 3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and a 4.
I'm a 4, easily.
Okay.
I think this is beautiful. Maybe like the bird itself isn't. I don't know about birds. I don't know if this is like how rare it is. You know, maybe this is like a common sparrow.
Look at the lighting on that bird. Zoom in on that bird. Yeah, and the color on that.
Like perfectly side lit.
Yeah.
Golden light. And I feel like just the splashing of the water and the waves below it makes this beautiful abstract-y. Like, this is a print I could see on a lot of walls.
Mm-hmm.
Hotels, like your own house. Like, it's just so well lit, and the colors are so vibrant that... and the composition is great. I don't know if you cropped in the image originally in your post, but, like, it's just perfectly lined up with rule of thirds, and the wings are cutting, you know, between the wings and the head alignment, it's cutting it into the image into thirds.
Yeah, I dig it. I think it looks great. What would it be used for? I don't know. This one kind of...
I think it's fine art print.
Fine art, nature photography. I mean, gosh, that ocean behind just looks so nice. Yeah. I really wish the water here in Puerto Rico looks like that.
Pretty?
Well, it's very frustrating because, like, the island that we can see right off of our porch apparently has water that looks just like that, but just not here because of the currents or something.
And you guys have the sargassum.
Yeah, we get all the sargassum, nasty seaweed. All right, next up.
All right.
I'll go full screen here. So this one is an example in my mind of a lucky photograph that's interesting, but this isn't
incredible.
Well, it's almost like photojournalism more than anything commercial or artistic. I don't really know what you do with something like this.
Agreed. I think it's a moment.
And by the way, let me mention, guys, if you're watching this on fstoppers.com, click over to YouTube and you can join the live chat. It's interesting to see what everybody else thinks about these images. Everybody in the comments, go ahead and put your numbers in when, like, right before we rate, and let me see what you guys think this is rated. Are you ready to rate this, David? 3, 2, 1.
I'm going 2.
Look what you did. You're behind the screen, David.
Dang it. Getting used to this.
Yeah, 2. I agree. I think it's cool. I would definitely put it on social media.
Yeah.
I might even send it to, like, the local news or whatever and go, look at what we saw.
It's a good documentary image of this race or whatever they're doing, this practice.
Yeah.
Thing.
I just don't know that, you know, the lighting on the boat and everything itself is that exciting. But I do also have to say that I've seen other images of these sailing races, and it's kind of rare that I see super incredible. When you have to shoot a boat that's that big, it's kind of hard to get really incredible lighting with an amazing background and something interesting going on. Usually the best images that I've seen of shots like this are zoomed in on the sailors doing something. Somebody about to fall off, or they're pulling the rope or whatever.
Or something super wide angle that's just more of a landscape with the boat itself.
This just feels weird the way it's cropped off at the top of the sails and everything. And then there's a lot of dead space along the bottom of the image too. It's almost like I would prefer, something. Well, I mean, I wouldn't crop past the animal. That kind of makes the whole thing.
Sorry, it's different on your screen and mine a little bit.
Oh, okay. Something like that, I probably like a little bit more. But I don't know. Interesting shot for sure. Community on YouTube seems to be giving it 2, 3. So they're kind of with us there. Let me see what the community gave this one. Chris Cameron shot this. Community gives it 3.27, and this was taken in 2017. All right, next up.
Hey, for the cover of the newspaper. That's exactly what we were saying it'd be good for.
You see? I know what I'm talking about.
Let's go. All right, next image. Wow, look at that.
This one's interesting.
That looks like some blending going on or something.
So I have read how this was taken. Do you care to guess how this was taken?
I mean, my first thought is really well planned. Light painting right where, beforehand, before the sun rose, with maybe at night, and then as the sun rose, they just blended it in later. But if they did that, then they did some crazy Photoshop, because you can see the exposure of the light trail falls off, so it's almost like it's blended so well into the sun. So I have no idea. I'm not sure. Like, I would have assumed Photoshop, but I don't know.
So Jonathan Lodge took this, and I feel like this is truly a good example of luck. He was shooting with a 10-stop neutral density filter, and he was taking 17-second long exposures.
Okay.
And he saw a wave coming at him, and he forgot to stop the exposure, and so he picked the tripod up to run away. And that is a long exposure of the sun. So that's pretty interesting, right?
Oh, that's cool.
Now, do you think
Okay.
the image is that good of an image? Like, if I look at this without the light trail, I don't think I really like this. And I've got some problems. Maybe we should just go ahead and rate this. Okay, let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
I like it. I'm giving it a 4.
Well, no one can see your 4 because you're behind the screen.
I need to.
I went 2.
2. Okay.
So
that seems
maybe I'm a little unfair. Maybe I'm being a little
so if I'm
unfair.
looking at this purely from a landscape image without the light trail, I think it's a solid 2 to 3.
Okay.
Like, I love the blended, I mean, not blended, but the smooth clouds, the ocean. It's good composition. I feel like as a landscape image, it's decent, solid. With the light trail, it adds such an interesting compositional element to me. It just helps lead my eye through the frame. It's like I said, super interesting how the light fall off happens. So from a photography standpoint, I didn't know how this was immediately taken, and that kind of makes it interesting to me.
I agree. Here's my problem with it. I feel like the sky's a little overexposed, and then I feel like there is a lot of funny business going on with this rock on the left, and I feel like there's big halos around the left side where they have recovered so much shadow on this rock.
What are you talking about?
That rock right there. I just feel like...
Where are halos?
Like here, look where I'm pointing on my screen. You guys can't see this, but on the left side of the rock, I just feel like maybe there's just a cloud behind the rock, but it feels like there's blue sky and then there's white around the left
Yeah,
edge of that
doesn't look
rock.
like haloing to me at all.
Really? Okay. Well, the other thing is it just feel like with that blue cast that's on that rock, I don't know. It feels very HDR, shadow highlight recovery to 100%, and it pulls me out of the image. Instead of looking at this as a beautiful image, I look at it as like too much Photoshop. That's what I personally am seeing. Now, it would be funny if I'm totally wrong and he's like, this is a JPEG straight out of camera. You're an idiot, Lee. But when I look at the trees on the right side, zoom into those, I love the shadows and highlights on those.
Sure.
I feel like that looks very realistic. Now, I don't think that exists on the rock,
No,
right?
It's the wrong camera angle.
Right.
I mean, it kind of does here.
Yeah, it's almost like the side of the rock that's getting hit by the sun that's orange almost appears darker than the blue side that should be in shadow, and that's why it feels so fakey to me. So that is my issue. So I would like the image darkened up a bit. I think the foreground looks good. I think the right side looks good. I think the sky is a little bright, and I think the shadow side of the rock is a little bright. Do you agree or disagree?
I can agree with the rock. I like the sky where it's at. It feels real. It feels like you want, especially with the sun in the image, you want blown out parts of the image. I feel like otherwise it starts to feel too fake in the other direction.
How about this? This will either be interesting or not interesting at all. I'm going to go full screen for you. See if you can edit this and make it black and white and see what that rock looks like in black and white. I bet you it just looks like a gray blob.
I don't even
So
know
if you
where
tap on it, I think there should be like an edit button somewhere.
There's a share, love, trash. Oh, edit. There we go.
I'm putting you on the spot here. You have to figure out how to do this
I'm
live.
like Patrick.
Well, why would they make it like this? Oh gosh, I hate Apple. Oh, I hate the iPad. Oh my gosh, I just wish they'd have Photoshop on everything with a mouse and keyboard that just pops out of the back.
Oh, that's saturation, clearly. There's exposure.
Can you not just do saturation and go the other direction?
Sure, I can desaturate. Oh, that's...
I feel like I'm liking
This
it
is
more
weird.
with what you're doing.
Oh, it's
like
doing something auto here. It's
Yeah.
adjusting multiple things.
Okay, well you're obviously in the wrong spot. Like you need to click on the there's got to be like a black and white area. Maybe on the left side, the three little circles.
That's oh, there we go.
It's not as boring as I thought it would be in black and white, but here's the thing. I think these are still effects.
Yeah.
So I think it's boosting contrast and stuff a bit. But I like these effects. I like the boosting of the contrast and the color a little bit. It makes the image feel a little bit more dense or something. I don't know. Something about that rock just kind of feels like it's gray to me. All right. Let's move on. Community gives this one 3.2 stars. Next image.
Nope. There we go.
All right, this image has made a critique before, actually. Let me pull it up here on the computer. This is by Cheryl John. And I don't, you know, if I can remember an image has already been in a critique, I try not to use it in the current critique because we've already talked about it, right? But there were a lot of other bird photos that were just really bad. I mean, it's just a picture of a bird. And I feel like this one is so good.
Yeah, this is...
That I was like, I got to put it in here again. So now the question comes down to how much luck is involved with this. I would feel like this is less luck than the shot from the cruise line that we saw earlier.
You think? I think it's about the same. I think it's the same camera techniques, the same opportunities.
Okay, here's why I say that. There are birds everywhere outside. There are
Sure.
no birds in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
So
But,
that's where
like,
I'm putting the luck
what
on that
about
last shot.
cliff faces, or like there's plenty of other like overlooks over the ocean. Maybe not the cruise line,
But
but
with
you're
his
saying
story,
general opportunity.
the opportunity to photograph a bird straight down over the ocean is pretty rare.
Yeah, depending where you live, sure.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Where do you live?
Like you
you're
go to
saying,
Iceland, you go to
I mean, how
England.
comfortable would you be
Any
moving
bridge?
that? Okay, a bridge. I didn't think about bridges. That's a decent example. But even that, what's the chance that you would be able to shoot perfectly straight down on a bird? That seems pretty rare and difficult to me.
Yeah.
This shot is an amazing photograph. I feel like the photographer did a great job.
But
I just
birds
don't
are
know.
everywhere, you're saying.
Birds are everywhere, and I think this is just a talented photographer who
Is it in
just
the
put the time
backyard?
in
Yeah.
and got this. Whereas
Okay.
I don't know if I'm doing a good job of
No, I
explaining
mean, I
myself
can
or not.
appreciate your point, and maybe I do agree with it. Like, if this was in her backyard, which it very well could be, then she could be attempting this photo every day of her life for years and years and years, whereas that guy was on a cruise line once.
Yeah.
You're saying. So, sure, I can appreciate that this might be a little less lucky. I do think this is executed as well or better than the cruise line photo. Like,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, maybe better. I don't know. She said this was handheld, natural light only. These small birds were extremely quick, wing blur even at 1/2500th of a second shutter speed. And my patience was rewarded when I managed to capture this low blow and get both heads in focus. The background is a shaded dark foliage.
yeah, that's amazing.
I feel like it's an incredible photograph. In terms of the luck, I don't know how much it should really be in this critique, just because I feel like this is just a very talented photograph, and animals do animal things all day long. And I don't know how common it is for birds to attack each other like this.
I mean, again, I think this is the same amount of luck as any great shot. Like like you were talking about at the beginning, it takes some sort of unique event in any photo shoot, any nature shoot, portrait shoot, landscape shoot, to make it interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
She was clearly very talented to be able to capture the moment.
I agree, and I love, the lighting with that dark background.
Yeah, it's
is
almost
very unique.
The background's almost imperceptible. I love that there's this small shade of green up here at the top.
Yeah.
It almost looks like she added. Oops.
You are the worst.
I
David.
haven't used an iPad in 4 years, probably. Yeah, it looks like there is a little bit of
I see green.
duplication or something.
Oh, really? Is there some funny business going on in the background?
Just a little bit. You don't see that? 3 lines?
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Which I don't mind. I mean, you could remove those. I still love the soft green. But yeah, beautiful. I almost wish there was just a tad more contrast in the birds with, like darken up a little bit of the wings or bring out the shadows and blacks on the birds a little bit.
Did we rate this one?
I don't know. I would have.
3, 2, 1. 4 stars. We agree.
Okay.
All right, next up. Community here. Most people are giving it 3 to 4 stars. Let me see what it got officially. 3 stars even. All right, next up. This one was kind of interesting. Now, you worked almost exclusively on Andreas's macro photography tutorial.
That was a fun tutorial to film and so much more challenging than I ever thought it would be. Like,
why is that?
Doing macro photography itself is already challenging. There's so much stacking involved. There's so much you're using flash, and I kind of understood those concepts going in and could appreciate a good, talented macro photographer. But when you're dealing with video, man, once you put those macro lenses on and you're that close, any hint of movement makes the footage go crazy. Like, everything was shot in high frame rates, but even still, it was still very challenging to get a nice smooth shot. Like I had to stabilize myself either on a tripod or like really butt myself up against a tree or something solid.
Because you shot a lot in the studio at first, but then you went out
in the field. I mean, even in the studio, like I remember Patrick was there for one series of shots and tried to set this praying mantis up on little spinny, what are those things called?
Lazy Susan
Lazy
thing?
Susan. And he was just trying to get some like interesting turnaround shots. And first of all, any hint of turning, like the bug immediately goes out of focus because you're just dealing with millimeters of focal plane. And then any hint of shake from the Lazy Susan or anything, and the bug just looks like it was like shaking in the frame or whatever. And
okay.
It was wild how steady you have to be. So like most of the shots from that tutorial were basically on a tripod getting really close to insects and or like the insects just weren't moving. We had a few lucky shots of bugs flying into a frame or whatever. But yeah, it's challenging. So
what's the name of that tutorial?
Mastering Macro.
That's right. You guys can check that out on fstoppers.com/store. Do you want to rate this image?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and a 4 on this.
I
No
was
one
in
can see
between
yours.
a 2 and a 3. Dang, gummit.
That was a 3?
3.
Okay.
I rated a 3. Yeah, I feel like very lucky assuming the fly is alive. I don't know much about bugs, even though I filmed that tutorial. It almost looks like, I guess it does look alive. I was going to say the legs seem like they're kind of in a weird position, but yeah, I mean, if the bug just landed there and sat there.
Let's see what he says. I have not read
cool.
why this is luck. You know, there's a lot of fakery going on in macro photography in terms of, you know, placing bugs in different places.
Potentially that you're doing a dead bug.
Killing the bugs and putting them where you want to. Yeah, so let's see.
This doesn't look dead to me.
It does not look dead to me either. Jerome Brill shot this. He says, I was taking some pictures on a tripod and not really getting anything. I turned away to scan if there was anything else interesting. When I turned back, this fly landed right on my shutter button. I slowly backed up, thinking the second I moved, he's gone, but he stayed put. I lowered down to my bag, feeling for my A6000 like a blind man. I had a kit lens on it, so quickly glanced down and grabbed the 24 millimeter. I know I can get this at 1.4. I can jack my shutter. What? He shot this with a 24 millimeter lens? How's that possible? Let me keep reading. I knew I can get this at 1.4. I can jack my shutter up, and maybe he get something before he flies off. Still there moving around in a circle. I quickly dropped my aperture and railed on the shutter speed. I'm having trouble reading this strange language. I ended at 1/1250th of a second, but I didn't know until after. I had ISO on auto. He turned away from me, so I started getting closer, half pressing away, making sure I didn't focus too close. Suddenly, he turns. I instinctively mashed down the shutter and got a few shots. After just a few clicks, he was gone. My last shot was a blur. So, yeah, how the heck is this shot with 24 millimeter at 1.4?
Cropped in. It has to be cropped in like crazy.
Okay.
And I'm guessing the A6000 is a crop sensor.
It is. I just didn't think that.
This,
I didn't even think.
This feels more like 100 to 200 millimeters.
It does, and I just didn't know that a 24 millimeter could even focus this close.
I mean, I think wide angles focus a lot closer than.
Really? They can
Telephoto.
Focus on like something a few inches away?
I imagine this is like 6 inches away, wide angle, and then he just cropped 200-300%.
Huh. Interesting. Did we rate this?
And we did. I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 3.
I was between a 2 and a 3.
Community gives it 3.1, and most of the people on YouTube are 3 and 4s. Interesting. Next up.
Ooh.
What is this
little
called?
snow ring type thing. I forget what the official name is. I think normally you see the ring around the moon
Okay.
like this. I assume this is essentially the same kind of thing happening, just like much closer and not in the atmosphere.
This was taken by Alice Krivek. A perfect halo around the tree created from the ice particles on a very, very cold morning. I have never before or later seen it in such vivid form. It's definitely interesting. And then look at like the top of that halo. You know, you can see that V shape of the...
Yeah. It.
Yeah, let me switch back over to us. 3, 2, 1. 3 stars, we agree.
I was almost tempted to go 4.
Me too.
So I could definitely see this being used again in like any motivational or potentially like religious imagery. Like I could see this on the front of a Christian pamphlet or something. Also, I'm fascinated by this little V shape. I'm like, you could probably be convinced it's some like angelic little looking shape or something. So beautiful, beautiful image. I think it has its marketing options available.
Community gives it 3.2 stars, and it looks like we have one. Skylord Jarvis gives it 5 stars. I would not go that far, but we've got a few 3 and 4 star images. Next up. This image is interesting. So, my first complaint with this image is such an easy one. I don't like the composition, and I feel like just zooming in a little bit and putting them more centered so that you don't have that dead space above them makes it so much better. I feel like that's so much better right there. Do you agree?
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's cropped with more headspace on the top than the bottom. It doesn't feel comfortable to me.
I wonder if they're trying to just make the lines, the diagonal lines line up kind of with the overall
edges.
Composition, which I agree. I don't like that choice.
But that's an easy fix. I like the image so much more, just cropped in a little bit. It's a cool shot. I mean, all right, let's rate it. 3, 2, 1.
I'm going 2.
Oh, okay. I was a little nicer than you. I went 3 stars on this one, especially cropped in.
Yeah, I mean, it's super lucky. To me, this is like the kid with the baseball shot, like super well timed, but to me the image doesn't come together with any sort of story or point of interest, or like it's just like an eagle and an airplane. Like the airplane isn't that cool. Maybe if it was like a fighter jet, then you could be like, go America.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I feel like this is...
I mean, do you swap that airplane out for a 747 and it's just as interesting? Or it's just like 2 flying things. Both are kind of cool in their own respect, but...
I feel like this is...
I don't know.
Middle school science textbook imagery. Like, this is the...
Like, how flight works,
yes.
Bernoulli's principle, let's go.
I don't know about that, but yes, whatever, you'd get to that aerodynamic section and lift section, and this would be like the lead of the chapter.
I could agree with that.
But I'm not saying that and saying like you can make a lot of money with this image. Maybe you can. I don't know.
Beyond that, I can't think of a single use. To me, this isn't interesting enough to like be a fine art piece or whatnot. Like the bird down like was so visually interesting and so just I don't know, something about that composition.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that you get to shoot down on a bird, whereas shooting up on a bird is
it's kind of boring.
The easiest thing possible. let's see. YouTubers are saying 2 to 3 stars on this one. Let's see what the community has given it. And I haven't read. David Cannon took this. Community gives it 3.26 stars, so this was fairly highly rated. He says, I was floating the Missouri River shooting photos for Cabela's and Bass Pro during 2019. 2 beautiful restored antique planes came buzzing low down the canyon overhead, and I was busy blasting away frames with a 100 to 400 millimeter. I photographed the first plane, and then as the second plane came close overhead, a friend in the boat with me said, look, an eagle. Just then, this bald eagle flew in my frame, and I was able to lock focus on it. We laughed off and on the rest of the day at what ridiculously low odds it was to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The timing is incredible. I just don't love the image.
I don't know. I feel like it's at least 3 stars, but
Okay.
to each his own. All right, next up. I think we got one more. All right, so this is the final image, and this will be the winner of the random tutorial. This was taken by Marek Stefik. I'm really bad with these names. Send me a private message on fstoppers.com. Let me know which tutorial you would like from the Fstoppers store. Are you ready to rate this? 3, 2, 1. You're
Going
behind the
2
screen.
again. 2.
It doesn't feel right giving it 2 stars, David.
Maybe I'm being hyper harsh.
I think you're an airplane hater.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I just hate flying.
Let's go full screen.
Flying things. Again, and maybe I'm just like in the mindset of this is a luck critique and things always should line up in a unique way within all these images, and so maybe I'm biasing a little low because I'm expecting something original and crazy. Why the primary reason I give this 2 is just the people in the airplane just look so bored and
That's a strange critique. Okay.
I mean, it's just, again, it lined up really cool. That in itself. Maybe if the plane it didn't have any people in it, I think I would give it a 3.
Interesting. I don't know. I feel like the guy standing on the ladder might be the most interesting part of the image to me.
Yeah, like scratching his head and being like, hey, how was your flight?
I guess. Maybe it's hard for me to really tell. I'm looking at this much smaller than you are with the iPad in your lap, but it's kind of hard for me to see his facial expression. I keep trying to decide what my feelings are with the composition and the strange crop that's cropping through the middle of the wheels of the airplane and the wings and stuff.
I can add that on to my 2 stars.
Like, I don't know if I want to crop in just the littlest bit. Like, that's too much, I think. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I want to see all the wheels or not. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for me, but I do.
It's just things are slightly off axis too. So in that regard, I stand by my 2. Like the planes are flying just a little bit like diagonal away from where the bottom plane is pointing. And I don't know, there's just something where just feels a little wrong compositionally.
Well, he says this was taken at a air show in Hungary. He was taking this picture with a 5D Mark II with a prime 200mm 2.8, so he was not able to zoom. And all of a sudden, those planes in the background just kind of appeared, and he wasn't prepared for it at all. So there's certainly, the element of luck here that we were wanting to see. The image is just a little uncomfortable with the composition.
Yep.
But if you zoom out more to show more of the airplane, I feel like you might be losing something. So I'm kind of torn here. Community gives this 3.28. Let's see what the YouTubers say. YouTubers are giving this
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3, 4. So,
Well, I am just being
an a-hole.
an a-hole.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up this critique. What is your plan for the rest of the day? We got to go kiteboarding, right?
I gotta work.
Come on, man. Come
Came
on,
down
man.
to Puerto Rico for a workcation.
Really?
Yeah, I gotta.
But the thing is, in the States, you have daycare for your toddler.
Yeah.
Here, no
it's-
daycare.
It's back on my wife and I, so that's a little extra work for sure, and it takes away from my ability to kiteboard and do some of the things that I would like to. But just the change of scenery around here. Is
But to
great.
be clear, you may not have time to kiteboard, but you are setting aside hours every night to play Warzone on the Xbox that you brought with you.
I play a couple hours.
Okay, so you have
2 or 3 hours a night.
priorities.
But at the end of the night, I mean, between when do you go to bed?
Last
Typically.
night I was in bed at like 9:30.
9:30.
So
Okay.
bad.
Between 6 and 9:30,
Mm-hmm.
is your brain functioning to the point where you work clear-headed?
Man, I go on weird schedules where sometimes I prefer working at night and
Okay.
other times I prefer working during the day.
But do you work straight until bed and then you just go to bed?
I think so.
Really?
Well,
See,
you know,
that's-
I have like an iPad. I read like Reddit as I'm falling asleep or something.
Okay.
So
See, it takes me a long time to like mentally decompress, and I'm a very rhythmic daily. I like rhythm. I like structure in my day. It takes me a while to like wind down, fall asleep. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. I definitely could be more of a workaholic and
no, I'm not saying
give
you
up
need
my evenings.
Well, it's not giving up your evening. It's simply like, oh yeah, I'd rather like hang out outside during the day when it's nice, rather than play video games. But you just like video games more.
I mean, I guess that's a possibility. Again, I just have a hard time before bed, a few hours before bed, working.
Gotcha.
So that's either going to be me decompressing with video games or watching a show or reading a book or taking a walk. Like, I don't like...
You don't get hyped up on those video games, man. Like people are trying to kill you, and you're trying to kill other
fun,
people.
but it's relaxing.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I'd like to put a heart monitor on you. I bet you your heart rate goes up
Well,
playing the game.
it's maybe not, like, calming, but it's, like, relaxing.
What's the
like,
difference? Calming versus
enjoyment,
relaxing.
fun, like de-stressing. Maybe that's the better word.
I see.
Like taking a jog can be de-stressing and relaxing, can it?
Hell no. That is.
Working out, kiteboarding.
Okay, I can see that a
Okay.
lot. I mean, I can get into like a zone when I kiteboard
Yeah.
where I'm kind of.
You're gonna take the kayak out later, right?
That's
That's not gonna be a relaxing, fun
no,
experience.
not in the ocean. I'm gonna
Okay.
be like battling waves and stuff. But anyway, I don't know what the heck we're talking about now. So that wraps up this video. If you guys would like to be a part of the next critique, head over to fstoppers.com/contest. Give me like 20 minutes and I'm going to put up the next critique, which is blur. We want to see your images that incorporate blur. And we will see you next time. Oh, and for all of you live fans, Patrick and I did buy the yacht. So I'll update you on that next time. See ya.
Yeah.
We're done.
Nice. Yeah.